everyone, thanks for joining me. Today we will be learning about the prolific Baroque composer George Frideric Handel. You will be able to hear the Berks Sinfonietta strings play his first Concerto Grosso from his Opus 6 collection on Saturday, March 27th at 7:30 p.m., so be sure to tune in. Let's get started. George Frideric Handel was born in 1685 in what is today called Halle, Germany. Something I find curious about Handel is the contrast between his country of origin, which was Germany or Germanic lands, versus the countries and musical genres that he would eventually and almost exclusively become associated with and compose within, those being Italy and England and Italian opera and English oratorio. So he lived a very cosmopolitan lifestyle. More on that as we kind of go through his life. So at a young age, he would become an accomplished violinist and keyboardist, as well as a knowledgeable student of harmony and counterpoint and composition. He studied some of these fields with Friedrich Wilhelm Zickau, and even with a lot of success, his father would strongly discourage him from pursuing a career in music, as he feared it wouldn't be lucrative. So when Handel enrolled in the University of Halle in 1702, he initially enrolled as a law student. As you can maybe guess, this didn't last very long until he decided he wanted to follow his musical passions to the town of Hamburg. There he was able to play violin and harpsichord in the opera orchestra there. And at age 19, he was able to premiere his first opera, Almira, in Hamburg. After his stint in Hamburg, his musical life really took off. From 1706 to 1710, he lived and traveled around Italy, where he met a lot of Italian composers, including Arcangelo Corelli, Alessandro and Domenico Scarlatti, Francesco Gasparini, among others. These Italian influences were really what pushed his compositional focus onto Italian operas and other Italian vocal styles. He wrote many works during his time in Italy, including a couple operas, a lot of Italian solo cantatas, 2 oratorios, and some church music. In 1710, his opera Agrippina enjoyed lots of success in the Venice premiere. At this point, he was pretty famous around Italy, and he was especially well known for his mastery of the Italian opera style. From here, Handel would take those Italian styles and gradually bring them to England, because in 1710, a new career development forever tied Handel to England. He became the Kapellmeister, or the music director, composer of sorts, to the Elector of Hanover, who was set to be the next King George I of England. So this German prince was set to be the next King of England. Handel would not fully reside in England until 1714, when the former prince officially ascended the throne after Queen Anne's death. But even before that, Handel was premiering some of the first Italian operas in London with great success. Italian opera and music for the stage really remained a great passion for Handel throughout his whole life. In 1719, he became the music director of the Royal Academy of Music, a company organized to establish Italian opera on the London stage. He would also write some operas for the King's Theatre in London, and overall he wrote over 40 operas throughout his whole lifetime, even after the London public became sort of weary of Italian opera. This shift away from Italian opera really happened in the late 1720s when John Gay's Beggar's Opera premiered, which is essentially a satire of Italian opera. Again, this didn't really dissuade Handel from writing Italian opera, but it did gradually cause his opera company to decline, and it became bankrupt in 1737. At this point, and probably a little before, Handel pivoted toward a new genre, the English oratorio. These were large-scale musical compositions that usually included solo voices, chorus, orchestra. They typically did not involve acting or scenery. They usually dramatized a biblical story, although Handel did write some secular dramas based on Greek tragedy, and they were usually in English. So they were kind of religious operas, essentially, without the acting. So some of his earlier celebrated oratorios include Saul and Israel in Egypt, And at the height of his career in 1741, he composed his most renowned oratorio, The Messiah. These stage works, along with other large-scale choral works, really allowed Handel to be recognized as a master of choral music. But he was also quite prolific in his writing of instrumental music, including the many overtures that would begin his operas. He wrote a lot of music for harpsichord and organ. He wrote many orchestral concertos, like the one Berks will be playing for you. And he wrote some large-scale concert music for strings and winds. Some pieces that you might know from that last category include water music and music for the royal fireworks, both pieces that were written for the kings that resided at the time, King George I for the former and King George II for the latter piece. The robust vocal nature of a lot of Handel's music could be heard as quite English, and during his lifetime, his music was often recognized as a reflection of the English national character, so he was quite an English icon. But of course, you can always hear his expertise in drama from his extensive work in writing for the Italian opera. And I would probably be remiss if I didn't mention that he was, of course, also influenced by French opera. Handel's entire Opus 6 collection consists of 12 Concerti Grossi, which are sometimes referred to as the 12 Grand Concertos. They were written as a tribute to Arcangelo Corelli's Opus 6, which also contains 12 Concerti Grossi and was published in 1712. Corelli was actually one of the first composers to write in the Concerto Grosso genre, which consists of a group of soloists referred to as the concertino, who would trade off music with the larger orchestra, referred to as the ripieno or tutti. So it's essentially a concerto with multiple soloists. Handel wrote his entire 12 Concerto Grosso collection in 1 month in 1739. Each concerto is comprised of 4 to 6 movements. The first Concerto Grosso, which is the one you will be hearing from Berks, consists of 5 movements. But the first movement is essentially a short, stately, and quite tender introduction that goes directly into the energetic allegro that follows. There's a center adagio movement that features some beautiful conversation between the solo voices, which include a string trio, 2 violins, and a cello. And following that, there's 2 more allegro movements. Listen for some overtly Baroque moments, such as the fugue that is in the second to last allegro. And listen for the more popular and catchy feel of the jig dance in the very last allegro. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a more thorough idea of who George Frideric Handel is. Be sure to tune in on Saturday, March 27th at 7:30 p.m. to catch his first Concerto Grosso in his Opus 6 collection. Bye.